Men, the crisis is upon us. This city shall be rid of Negro domination forever. Alfred Waddell, a former Confederate officer. Welcome to the Blackwash History Podcast. My name is Brittany, and my mission is to uncover stories that shape our world, but far too often have gone untold. Today, I will be discussing one of the darkest and most overlooked events in American history, the Wilmington coup of 1898. The only successful coup d'etat in the United States. Ever heard of it? I never read about it before in all my years attending school. It wasn't until about last month would I really come to learn about this hidden history after watching a documentary. The Wilmington coup, it isn't just a story of violence. It's a story about democracy, race, and the fragility of progress. So let's go back to Wilmington, North Carolina in the late 19th century. Imagine a thriving Black community in 1898. The largest city in North Carolina, a place of promise for African Americans. 56% of its population was Black, and there were many thriving as business owners, professionals, and community leaders. According to one historian, Crystal Sanders, Wilmington was essentially a promised land for African Americans. One of the city's most prominent figures was Alexander Manley. He was the editor of the Daily Record, the only Black-owned daily newspaper in the country. His paper served as a voice for Black progress and justice, read by both Black and white residents. But, as you know, there will always be those who do not like to see Black progress and thriving Black communities. So this success was intolerable to the white elite. They viewed Black economic and political power as a threat to their dominance. In the 1890s, a coalition of Black Republicans and white populists known as the Fusionists took control of Wilmington's government, appointing Black leaders to positions of power. But this really enraged the white elite. Alfred Waddell and Josephus Daniels, publisher of the News and Observer, led a coordinated campaign to incite fear of so-called Negro rule. Their propaganda painted African Americans as corrupt and dangerous, using inflammatory editorials and political cartoons. I once read something that Malcolm X said about the media. He said, "The media is the most powerful entity of the world. They have the power to make the innocent look guilty and to make the guilty innocent, and that's power because they control the minds of the masses." So from publishing false narratives, there was also another group called the Red Shirts who terrorized Black voters using violence to suppress voter turnout. On November 10th, 1898, 2 days after a rigged election, a mob of 2,000 armed white men marched through Wilmington. They burnt the Daily Record office, destroying the symbol of Black progress. They killed dozens, possibly hundreds, of Black residents, and they forced survivors to flee into nearby swamps for safety. At gunpoint, the mob forced Wilmington's Black and Fusionist leaders to resign. Waddell declared himself mayor in what historians call the only coup d'etat in U.S. history. The coup devastated Wilmington's Black community. Homes, businesses, and wealth were lost. The city, once majority Black, became predominantly white almost overnight. The effects rippled across North Carolina. By 1902, the number of registered Black voters plummeted from 126,000 to just 6,100. Statewide voter suppression laws like poll taxes and literacy tests silenced Black voices for generations. For decades, the Wilmington coup was erased from history books as it was labeled as a race riot to shift blame onto Black residents. It wasn't until the 1990s that the truth began to resurface. Today, descendants of both the victims and perpetrators are working to uncover the full story. They're calling for reparations and justice, not just for Wilmington, but for the many communities that face similar violence across the South. The Wilmington coup isn't just a tragedy of the past. It's a warning. It reminds us how fragile democracy can be and how systemic racism has long-lasting effects. Thank you for joining me today as I wanted to share this history with you. There's so many more layers to the story. But I encourage you to research and look into this and check the show description for a link to the documentary. And if this story has moved you, share it, talk about it, and let's commit to ensuring history like this is never forgotten, but also never repeated.